Good evening, all. Welcome to today's Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself, Annie Jose from Community Outreach Team of ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. Cancer Healing Journey Talks helps cancer survivors and caregivers to share their journey with vast number of survivors and caregivers who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. This can inspire and motivate them for their faster recovery as well. I would like to introduce today's speaker, Jennifer Smrz. She is a breast cancer survivor. She is a health educator of natural products, online wellness entrepreneur, yoga and fitness instructor, mental health advocate, and she is also a career transition coach. Welcome to today's session, Jennifer. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm honored that I was asked.
That's all right. So can you please let us know what type of cancer you had and what stage was it when it got diagnosed?
Of course. So I had breast cancer, and it was stage 1 when I was diagnosed, May 2019. I was fortunate to catch it early, and it was quite small. Everything happened quite quickly once they did the mammogram and the biopsy and they got the positive diagnosis. Within 2 weeks, I was scheduled for a lumpectomy, and it was supposed to be fairly standard. The surgery seemed to go well when I did the follow-up call with my surgeon. It was in 3 out of the 5 nodes taken out, which just meant that it was more likely that I would be having more of an aggressive treatment plan. However, the surgeon seemed very pleased. That said, when I went to, after the pathology report, 13 days later, it was an evening appointment, and I thought he was just going to say everything went well and we're good to move forward. He shared that I had another tumor that showed up in the pathology report and was scheduled in for my second lumpectomy with less than 12 hours from when I was talking to him, and that made it 2 weeks from my first lumpectomy. So that was not the news I was expecting, to have 2 tumors within 2 weeks, but I quickly went for that second surgery and then had a month to recover before my chemo started.
All right. So what was your reaction when you got to know that you're diagnosed with cancer?
You know what, I mean, shock for sure. I've been in the, as you sort of introduced me, I have been in the fitness world, you know, whether it was a personal trainer, fitness instructor, yoga teacher, or meditation trainer. So I know the importance of moving my body, mindfulness activities, meditation. I eat a well-balanced diet. So, I mean, the traditional things to help prevent and just have a healthy life, I was doing that. And so when I got the news, I was shocked. It's not in my family history. I was 43, which was, you know, fairly young to be diagnosed, although many people are younger. Because when I was told on a Tuesday and literally 2 weeks later, my first surgery was booked, beyond just being shocked and then having to tell my 2 young boys, I just kept myself as busy as possible. I am a worrier by nature, so I just, you know, started cooking meals so that would be ready for when I was recovering. I subbed as often as I could into the fitness classes into the evenings so that they were, you know, my evenings were busy, essentially, so I didn't have time to just sit and worry or research or so forth. So that was sort of my reaction. And with all this happening in spring or summer, I was very fortunate to be able to recover after the surgeries at our cottage home. So that getting out in nature and being surrounded by friends and family is how I sort of coped with the emotions as well.
All right. So how did your family took the news?
Oh, similar to sort of how I reacted. I mean, my kids were, and we had to be careful on how we told them at the time. They were 11 and 13. And you hear the word cancer. No one wants to hear the word cancer. So we certainly didn't want to scare them. We've had, you know, family pass away from different cancers. So, but the response from my youngest was, oh my gosh, Mom, if you, being someone so healthy, got it, anyone can. And I mean, that's the reality, right? Really anyone can. So, and that sort of was the response from friends and family as well, just saying, wow, like this is, it woke them up as well, that, getting mammograms, going for regular treatments, being your own health advocate, and, knowing your body. And if you notice anything that doesn't feel right, certainly look into it, because it can touch all of us.
Right. So, like other than surgery, did you undergo chemo or radio? Anything
I
like that?
did, yes. So my chemo treatment started in August of 2019, and I had it for 5 weeks. It started every 2 weeks for a 2-month period, and then it switched over to 12 sessions weekly. So it was quite aggressive. That brought me right before the Christmas holiday, which timing worked out. It was a week before. I had a month to recover, and then daily radiation started, and I had a total of 33 sessions. So that lasted almost 3 months.
All right. So, have you ever thought of doing any alternative treatment like naturopathy, Ayurvedic treatment, anything like that?
You know what, at the time when I was diagnosed, I mean, again, things happened so fast. I learned of it on a Tuesday. 2 weeks ago was the surgery. Then 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks later, I had the second surgery. Things seemed to happen so fast. And I trusted my oncologist and the surgeon and my family doctor. As mentioned, being a worrier, I didn't do my own research on alternative treatments. I just trusted what my doctors were telling me, and went the traditional Western treatment. Would I do things differently now? It is so hard to say. We probably will get to it. I did have a third tumor within 11 months develop. So how is that possible when I was still in active treatment and after undergoing aggressive chemo and radiation? It doesn't really make sense. And sadly, the doctors can't really explain it either. So I've since had 5 surgeries in total, one of which was a preventative surgery, because that's where the cancer could have traveled to. So I sort of worked backwards. Once I learned of that third tumor, that's when I started connecting with naturopath, holistic healers, nutritionists, just to see if there were ways that I could prevent a 4th diagnosis, and just make healthier choices. So that's when I actually started doing research and learning about many studies that linked the toxins.
Yeah. So, did you undergo any other alternative treatment like naturopathy or radiotherapy? Ayurvedic treatment. Sorry for that.
You know what? I actually didn't even look into any, alternative treatments at the time. Things happened so fast when I was told, and it was a Tuesday. So when I was told on a Tuesday in the evening that it was positive, 2 weeks later, I had my first surgery. 2 weeks later to that day, had my second surgery. Because I'm a worrier by nature, my response was just to trust the doctors, and I did. I had a good relationship with my oncologist as well as the surgeon and family doctor for that matter. I figured if I started researching and going on Google, that could take me down a rabbit hole and get me worrying even more. So I didn't at the time look into any other treatments. I just accepted that I needed the chemo, needed the radiation, needed the Herceptin, which was an IV treatment to help prevent future cells. In hindsight, now knowing that I've had 5 surgeries and 3 tumors over an 11-month period, would I have looked into alternative medicine? Yes. And when I learned of that third tumor in, I guess, April of 2020, again, while still in active treatment, that's when I started reaching out to naturopath, holistic healers, nutritionists, just various professionals that maybe would have a different perspective and could give me advice as to how I could prevent at that point, my fourth diagnosis. And at that time, many people kept directing me to various documentaries and health studies that clearly linked connections between the toxins in the household products that we use and various health ailments, one being cancer, lung disease, mental health disorders, skin sensitivities, allergies, so that to me was a real wake-up call. And when I started delving in a little deeper on changes that I could make to live a healthier lifestyle.
All right. So who was your support system throughout the cancer journey?
You know what, I certainly had friends and family, fortunately, that were very supportive. Through the hospital, they often had different nutrition and social workers that you could connect with. But I would say the biggest piece was family and friends, and just having them reach out. A few of them arranged meals to be delivered. Others collected money for house cleaning. So the community of my friends, the gym that I was working, they did something as well. I certainly felt loved and supported, which is helpful when you're going through a scary diagnosis.
That's great. So did you join any support group throughout the treatment?
You know what, other than, as mentioned, having the access to the social worker, I really didn't until further on in my treatments. We locally have a non-for-profit organization called Smrz, which is it was great. It was only 10 minutes from my house, and it was an old Victorian house, and essentially it had yoga classes, cooking classes, access to counselors. It had a gym. It had a little library where there was resources. So as I got through my treatment and my mental health started suffering, I certainly reached out and started participating in those programs. With it being during COVID, they ended up going online, and I still am a part of that community. After my treatments, and I did wait until after, I've never really been on social media prior to the pandemic, but I was able to get into a few Facebook groups that were either cancer, but more specifically breast cancer support groups. And I'm still active on that. Although my treatments are done, I feel I'm able to mentor other people and share my experience if they have any questions and so forth. So that's what I've been doing over the last year since my treatments have ended.
That's great. So you told me that you were into healthy lifestyle. So did you change anything else, like once you were diagnosed with cancer?
You know what, it's initially no, but after learning about the various studies that linked beauty products, cleaners, these products that we use on a daily basis, I became a real advocate. I've always read my labels on food and tell people, obviously, refined sugars and processed foods to try to avoid or eliminate as much as possible. Read those labels, but I didn't do that for household products. I just assumed that they were safe, but I learned it only takes 26 seconds for whatever is in the air to land on your skin and get into your bloodstream. And that's where they were able to make the connections of people getting sick from various products. So that has certainly been the biggest change for me. I have detoxed my home and gotten rid of any product that has toxins in it or that I don't know what the ingredients are, and transformed into natural products that are safer for me, my family. And fortunately, I've been able to partner with a wellness company that has affordable prices, because as we all know, whether it's a gym membership, eating organically or healthy, a lot of times that comes with a high ticket item, and it eliminates so many people from having the option to live healthy lifestyles. So being able to tap into this wellness company has been something that I'm very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to, and that's why I share with as many people as I can to know, so that they are educated, one, of the toxins, but more importantly, that there are actions that we can take that can help prevent these diagnoses.
Do you think cancer has changed you in a positive way?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, do you think cancer has changed you in a positive way?
You know what, I do. I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. And my reaction was never, why me, or like a pity train. I mean, I was surprised, but it's made me appreciate life. And I mean, there was days that I, had really low moods, or, when you lose all your hair and you lose weight and you don't have energy, getting out of bed can be a struggle. So going through this has made me appreciate, the little things in life. And just, I've in the past practiced, at some point in each day, reflecting on 5 things that are going well. Now I make sure that that's a daily practice life throws many things at us. I mean, the pandemic is one, job loss, everyday stresses, but I think we can all find a few things in our lives that are going well. And that's really where we have to focus our energy. I do daily deep breathing exercises as well, just to help calm my mind and put me at a better state to handle what life throws at me, because I've gotten through the cancer journey, hopefully, and that's behind me. But in everyday life, we're going to be faced with obstacles and stress. So bringing in a few coping strategies on a daily basis is really key.
That's good. So what would be your message to survivors and caregivers out there?
You know what, I think a few. One is being your own health advocate. When I was diagnosed with the 3rd tumor, my surgeon, and everything was on my left breast, my surgeon's reaction was to just treat the cancer. And he was only going to do a mastectomy on the one side. When I learned of that 3rd tumor, my first reaction was, double mastectomy, get it done. I want this out of me, and I don't want to have to deal with this again. And I had to, when I met with the surgeon and my husband was with me, it was great. I was, again, during the pandemic, very fortunate to have been booked in, I think a week after being told of that 3rd surgery. But I had to stand up for myself and say, I'm not going through this surgery twice. I want both of them done, which my surgeon was fine to do, but he wanted to do them separately. And I'm like, why would I go through one side and then have to recover and wait to do the other side, which was the non-cancerous side? And again, during the pandemic, who knows how long I would be waiting for that elective surgery. So after coming home from the surgeon, hearing that he wanted to do one at a time, sharing that with, my sister-in-law and some friends, they're like, you need to call him back and, put your foot down, so to speak. And so being your own health advocate, knowing your body, making those appointments, not stopping if you feel that you're not getting the care that you deserve. In terms of your products, read your labels. It's scary that the beauty products in general are not regulated. I've learned even supplements that we buy at local grocery stores have additives and preservatives that are put in that don't need to be listed in ingredients, which may not be toxic necessarily, but they definitely dilute and you might affect the absorption. So do your research, read the labels, and it certainly, in my opinion, is worth buying natural products and just sourcing what makes the most sense. And because that's where we have control. We don't have control over everything, but take control of the things that we can make changes to.
That was great. So Jennifer, there are various types of stigmas around different types of cancer all around the world. So how much do you think is the importance of awareness to the public regarding cancer?
I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear that. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, so there are various types of stigmas all around the world regarding different types of cancer. So how much do you think the importance of awareness to the public regarding various types of cancer?
Yes, I think I mean, for me, as you mentioned, breast cancer in general, there are so many different types, and the treatment plans and so forth are different. So I think people need to they need to be careful when if they're planning on doing their own research. You know, that everyone is different and everyone's system's different. So it's not a blanket, if you have this type of cancer, this is what you should or shouldn't be doing. Get the reports from your doctor. I had access to, you know, the pathology reports and all sorts of, I mean, you got a whole binder when I met with each different oncologist, the chemo and the radiation oncologist. So you have your information. For me, that was too overwhelming, like going through all of that information. I sort of put it aside and just trusted my doctors. But if you're a person that likes to learn, go make sure that you have access to your reports and your health history and so forth. And that's also very helpful if you are looking for an alternative way to treat whatever ailment, cancer or anything else. The more information that you have on your health record to bring to the various practitioners or professionals will help them better diagnose and make a better treatment plan for you.
All right. So how did you overcome your fear of treatment or any side effects which was associated with the treatment?
You know what, I overcome it. I just took it in strides. And that too is why I didn't research. I knew I would lose my hair. That was what the oncologist, he joked. He's like, that's the only thing I can guarantee. All these other side effects that people may or may not get, you know, and for the most part, I did get through my chemo. I mean, it wasn't fun and I had side effects, but hearing other people's experiences, I would say that I got through it fairly easily, so to speak. But I think it was just taking things in stride. You know, as I lost weight and I didn't have the motivation, that obviously is one side effect. I just would make sure that I moved my body every day, or that I got outside, or that things that could help my mental health, I ensured that I was doing that daily. And that's sort of what got me through different coping strategies, whether it was the deep breathing, distractions, talking with friends and families. Those were key ways for me to get through, whether it was the symptoms or just the treatments in general.
All right. So one last question, Jennifer. So if you have to summarize your whole journey in one sentence, what would that be?
Wow. That's a tough one in one sentence. I would say a real eye opener. It was clear that cancer can touch everyone, and that it is important that we make daily healthy choices. It's not necessarily going to guarantee prevention of a diagnosis, but it certainly puts us being reactive. I would much prefer to be taking preventative actions. So we do have some control in how we live.
All right. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. I'm pretty sure that this session will really motivate survivors and caregivers out there. Thank you so much once again.
Oh, my pleasure. And again, thank you for this opportunity and for what you do. I do myself hope that I have motivated someone else.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jennifer.